Amid the chaos of Ukraine's battlefield, a pink motorcycle has come to symbolize the Russian military's growing reliance on makeshift and vulnerable vehicles, Forbes reports. This highlights a broader shift in Russian military tactics, where civilians' everyday vehicles are now the preferred mode of transport for the frontline troops. Russian soldiers proudly show off their bike, calling it a warhorse, used for reconnaissance missions. "We ride out to the task on it," one soldier said, pointing to its crude sidecar which carries spare gas and smoke grenades, just in case. He adds, acknowledging the constant threat from Ukrainian drones. This pink motorcycle, an ex-Ukrainian vehicle captured or stolen by Russian forces, is used to transport drone operators on reconnaissance missions near the front line. The operators likely launch short-range drones to gather intelligence or target Ukrainian positions. But what stands out is how far the Russian military has fallen, forced to rely on such makeshift vehicles after the loss of heavy combat equipment. David Axe, Forbes war correspondent, reveals that Russia has lost over 20,000 armoured vehicles and other heavy military equipment in Ukraine, a staggering number that highlights the challenges the Russian military is now facing. With so many vehicles destroyed or rendered useless, Russian forces have turned to civilian-style vehicles, which are highly vulnerable to Ukrainian artillery and drone strikes. One notable instance of this vulnerability occurred during a failed assault on Ukrainian lines where 31 Russian motorcycles were deployed. Few of them survived, as Ukrainian artillery and drones decimated the makeshift vehicles. This is just one example of how the demechanization of the Russian military has significantly slowed their advances on critical battlefields in eastern Ukraine. "There's nothing else for us to ride," a soldier admits, acknowledging the extreme measures Russian forces are resorting to as they continue to fight with inadequate resources. Initially, Russian troops had experimented with adding armor to their motorcycles, but the added weight reduced mobility and effectiveness. The high mass of the vehicle made steering difficult, notes Tanks Encyclopedia. Today, armored motorcycles are rare, and most Russian forces rely on unarmored bikes that offer little protection against Ukrainian firepower. As Axe observes, the advantage that Russia once held regarding manpower and firepower is now slipping away. They are rolling into battle in the same vehicles civilians use to go to work, he writes, highlighting the immense struggle the Russian military faces as they try to adapt to the evolving nature of modern warfare. Recently, Z channels published footage of the moment an air bomb hit a dam in Kursk region. The video shows that the bomb deviated significantly from the target. Experts are confident that the enemy attempted to strike at the Ukrainian armed forces position in the Popovka area. Forbes reports, all the advantages of gliding bombs are negated by effective radio jamming. By blocking the signal between the bomb and the navigation satellite, the Ukrainian armed forces often divert them from their original target. However, in this case, there was no radio jamming. The dam holds back a river near Popovka, a border settlement in Belgorod. Shortly after retreating from the neighboring Kursk Oblast, after their supply lines were severed in February, Ukrainian brigades launched a shallow incursion into Belgorod that continues weeks later. The fighting in the oblast is currently concentrated in Popovka and nearby Demidovka, both largely under Ukrainian control as of late March. According to the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies, Russian troops counterattacked and marched back into Demidovka on or before Wednesday. Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 fighters have been supporting the Ukrainian forces in Belgorod primarily by bombing bridges carrying Russian reinforcements into the oblast. Experts say the enemy used a new ODAB-500 aerial bomb to hit the dam. It is a precision thermobaric munition that sprays a flammable aerosol and then ignites it. Military analysts said it was an odd choice to use this type of bomb to destroy the dam. It would be more effective if it were used against personnel in a confined space. To blow up the dam and flood the surrounding area, you would need to hit the ground and concrete with a very large, ground-penetrating high explosive. This type of bomb is, in a sense, the opposite of the flimsy thermobaric bomb. Experts concluded that the enemy may have been attacking not the dam itself, but rather the Ukrainian positions near it. Ukrainian journalist Andrei Saplienko writes that Putin's army also used the new cabs to strike the frontline city of Seversk. It's unfortunate for them that the radio jamming that protects so many other Ukrainians apparently doesn't extend into Belgorod. If the jamming does extend into Belgorod, it at least failed to throw off the one ODAB 500.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the village of Yehidny in the Chernihiv region, where Russian soldiers forced more than 300 villagers into a school basement and kept them there for weeks in the early days of the war. According to Associated Press, the villages were forced to remain in the basement day and night, except for rare occasions when they were allowed outside to cook on open fires or to use the toilet. 18 people died of stress and deprivation. None of us will ever forget or forgive Russia for what it has done. Zelensky wrote on his Telegram channel following the visit to Yehidny. The Russian forces left the village at the beginning of April 2022, part of a regional withdrawal from northern Ukraine in anticipation of a large offensive in the east. A message scrawled on a wall of the Yehidny school marked April 1st as the last day of their presence.
Розпочинаємо роботу в Ягідному, місце сили, незламності. Олена Швидка, голова громади.
Дуже приємно.
Дуже приємно.
Зараз вже відбулися певні роботи для того, щоб зберегти всі ті речі, які там відбувалися. У нас є фінансування, 50 мільйонів є на початок роботи, і він проходить з урахуванням пропозицій, які офіційно надходять. Що важливо сказати, залишиться сама школа, приміщення школи залишається.